Hi guys, welcome back. I'm Amer with the Soundtrack Chronicles, and we continue where we left off with the latest releases of the quartet uh, CDs this holiday season. And let's talk about let's start talking about all of them here, one by one, shall we? All right. So we start with Mary, Queen of Scots, music composed by John Barry. This is a limited edition of 3,000 units that has just been released in the last holiday season at Quartet Records. It's one of the most joyful releases in this batch, as it's an Oscar-nominated score from 1971, and part of the so-called John Barry triptych. The Lion in Winter, The Last Valley, all gorgeous melodies and pure vintage John Barry sound. So you can't miss it. It's one of the most essential releases. And here it is, all expanded and remastered. It was previously released as a 28-minute OST album that was again reissued by Intrada in 2008 and went quickly out of print. And it's a great album. Uh, it was recorded initially at the CTS studios under the direction of sound engineer John Richards, and who's actually well known for his closed mic techniques, as was the whole studio's unique sound ambiance. I seem to recall scores like Superman 2, The Living Daylights, all having that unique sound. So it's all here at CTS Studios. This album has been meticulously been produced by Neil S. Bulk, as well as Mike Medicino, who remastered it to perfection. Of course, it has been remastered by Chris Malone, who said it was a high. This time they used a new high transfer of the album master, and for the full mono score, Mike had to locate 1/4-inch tapes with some of the score on it, which was not on the previous Blu-ray release as an isolated track. So he's basically used a music stem. So, so this is what we have here: a complete remaster. The complete score in chronological sequence is here, and it has been it's in mono, yes, and the OST album has been remastered. So that's pretty essential to this edition. So, of course, and where can you be without a 20 page essential booklet with none other than John Burlingame. So this is a must-have, and probably one of the most popular releases in this batch. Ron Goodwin's Frenzy. When this was suddenly announced across Soundtrackdom, it was taken by a frenzy. They weren't expecting. They weren't kidding. I mean, this is a treat. Celebrating the score's 50th anniversary is the world premiere release of the celebrated British composer Ron Goodwin's score, long sought by fans, and to my knowledge, there has never been an absolutely no release of the score whatsoever in any format. And so folks here were absolutely stunned, when this was announced. And also included in this score is the unused, rejected score by none other than Henry Mancini, which sounds like a Gothic score that was deemed too dark and foreboding by Alfred Hitchcock and ultimately dismissed. So Frenzy was the only complete rejected score in Henry Mancini's entire career. It's actually isn't much of a surprise if you're talking about rejected scores with Alfred Hitchcock. We all know that famous score by Bernard Herrmann, which was ultimately rejected on the spot on the recording sessions by Alfred Hitchcock. So he has a history of rejecting scores, and but Henry Mancini's score is finally available on this CD set. It is highly, highly unprecedented as in this 2 CD set edition. But it's the Ron Goodwin score that takes all the credit here. It's much more lighthearted, triumphant, but fans will be divided actually which sounds better, in fact. Okay, it has been restored and meticulously remastered by Mike Mendocino, who I think had hinted about this upcoming big non-John Williams release a few months before its announcement. So this is it, probably it. So this special edition features an exclusive in-depth essay by writer and composer Denise Cordell, packaged in a fancy 28-page booklet. By the way, just recently, Frenzy was released as a 2 LP vinyl set featuring both the scores, Mancini's Rejected score as well as Ron Goodwin's score. So finally, after exactly 50 years, this is it's unprecedented in all formats, CD and vinyl. So this is a keeper and a big surprise for all the fans out here. A must have. And now coming back to the final release, which is the Sicilian Clan by Ennio Morricone. Now we have to really give some credit to Quartet Records. I mean, they've been dishing out a lot of Henry Mancini scores like the Pink Panther Box Collection, as well as the greatest Western score, The Good, the Bad, the Ugly by Ennio Morricone. Uh, Quartet has to be the most devoted label for both Morricone and John Barry. So here is the remastered expanded edition of this iconic score for Henry Vernelli's beloved French, Italian, American noir gangster mafia film. In other words, a classic, a cult classic. The main theme is pretty eccentric, having a very unique effect using what is called the Sicilian boing effect. Interesting. Now this CD includes the remastered album and has several bonus tracks and some versions differing in length and orchestrations that Morricone recorded for the slightly different American and European cuts of the film. So it's produced and mastered by Chris Malone from the first generation master tapes, and Claudio Fuyano supervised the album. And the package includes another 20-page booklet with liner notes by film music writer Jeff Bond. So these are the three essential releases besides the Magnificent Seven that I highly recommend. So point your browsers at Quartet Records and go for these. This is an excellent batch for 2022 and a must-have.